of the presentation, but I'm actually in Toronto. So before I begin, I want to acknowledge that I'm working and living on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Haudenosaunee, the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Huron-Wendat, the Anishinaabeg, and the Chippewa peoples, and Toronto is Dish with One Spoon territory. So, envisioning a physical food hub at UBCO. Our project recommends the creation of a physical space on campus that's focused on student community and food. This project grew out of the Voice 5 campus health research, which we just heard all about in that amazing presentation, and the understanding that food security on campus is becoming a growing priority. So this project is a collaboration between the UBC Sustainability Scholars program, which funds my position, and Campus Health. And Casey's work on this project has been supported by the Office of the Provost. So the goal of our research and consultation process was to establish a plan indicating a way forward for our campus to promote and support immediate and long-term food security for members of our campus community. So before we move any further, I again want to highlight this number. 42.3% of students reported that they are not getting enough to eat, or that the stress of worrying that they won't get enough to eat is severely impacting them. This is hugely unacceptable and upsetting. And this is why we're so passionate about finding a meaningful and impactful way to support food security at UBCO. We've researched, discussed, and consulted, and we've continuously heard the message that a physical food hub on campus will help support food security for students. But what is a physical food hub? A physical food hub is a thriving community space where students and other campus community members can access a wide range of programs, services, opportunities that increase health and well-being by providing healthy, affordable food, social connection, food skills within a sustainable, equitable food system. A food hub within a university setting also prioritizes research, advocacy, and policy work involving faculty, staff, and students. The idea of a physical food hub or food center is not a novel concept. It exists within the community. However, it doesn't yet exist at post-secondary campuses in Canada. There are many food security initiatives and programs at university campuses currently, but they're not consolidated into a physical space or center. So we began this project with a literature review and an environmental scan. The Lit Review explored a number of topics: the food hub model, food security, student food security, community health and well-being, healthy built environment, placemaking, climate change and sustainability with regards to food systems and food security, and COVID-19 and food security. The literature review was conducted in order to substantiate and inform our environmental scan and consultation process. The environmental scan began with an online search of existing food security initiatives in the community and at post-secondary institutions across Canada. We spoke with 8 food security initiatives at universities and 5 community food security organizations. We also researched and collected information on 12 additional food security initiatives in an online search. For the UBCO community consultations, we held 23 consultations with 109 people, staff, faculty, and students. And then we compiled a report containing the literature review, the environmental scan, the results of our UBCO community consultations, and a list of recommendations for moving this project forward. And I can see on the call so many people that were part of the UBCO community consultations in addition to the environmental scan, and that's really exciting. So thank you for coming, and thank you for helping us in this whole process. So throughout this entire process, we prioritized UBC strategic planning with specific focus on the Inclusion Action Plan, the Wellbeing Strategic Framework, the Indigenous Strategic Plan, and the Climate Action Plan. And we're committed to moving these plans forward and addressing numerous priority areas within each. The questions we asked in our environmental scan and our UBCO consultation process were directly influenced and informed by these 4 strategic plans. In our environmental scan, we spoke with representatives from the universities and organizations pictured here. We inquired about food security on campus, the programs and services offered, funding, partnerships, food procurement, student activism and advocacy, research, faculty and student involvement, and more. The discussions we held with representatives from these food security initiatives were inspiring and revealed the immense opportunity and possible scope of food security work that is attainable on campus. We also learned that we're not the only campus with high rates of student household food insecurity. The numbers are similar and shockingly high across Canada, with about 40% of post-secondary students experiencing household food insecurity. In our environmental scan, we heard about a wide variety of programs and services on campuses that promote student food security, some of which are listed here on the slide. In our UBCO community consultation process, we spoke with representatives from the departments, faculties, and groups listed here. We approached these conversations as true consultations, really wanting to hear what our campus community wants and what they think will be most effective in terms of supporting student food insecurity or supporting student food security. In each consultation, we delivered a presentation defining food security, explaining our project, and then asked a consistent set of questions in each session. Speaking with 109 campus community members from a wide variety of disciplines and areas helped us more deeply understand what our campus wants and what our campus community members believe is feasible regarding projects to support food security on campus. So these next two slides will hopefully provide a clearer picture of the Food Hub itself, the physical space, and also the programs, services, events, etc. that will activate the space. The vision of the physical Food Hub was really developed straight out of our consultations with UBCO campus members. And again, these consultations and the questions we asked were really guided by the aforementioned UBC strategic plans. So first, let's look at what our consultations revealed about the physical space itself. We heard a variety of ideas, but there were definitely consistent themes in terms of what people envisioned as the physical layout, environment, and atmosphere of the Food Hub. Firstly, the most prominent theme that emerged was the physical Food Hub must have an indoor component and an outdoor component. People were adamant that the indoor space must have kitchen space. So they recommended having multiple cooking and food preparation stations that individual students could use to make themselves a meal, a larger shared kitchen space for communal cooking, events, and classes, an open pantry, a large selection of spices so that students from all over the world and from various cultures could feel comfortable and more at home in the cooking space, large pots and many cooking and eating utensils for communal use. There were also suggestions to create designated areas for specific dietary requirements, choices, and allergies, such as halal, nut-free, celiac, and more. We heard recommendations to have big communal tables and seating areas, also small tables for individuals, couches, multiple wheelchair accessible options, and really to construct a space where students feel like they could just come and hang out and relax. We heard that the space should be bright, vibrant, have windows, be well organized, comfortable, and open concept. People expressed wanting to see artwork from the Silks Okanagan Nation, representation from international artists, paintings of food, posters with songs of gratitude, and statistics normalizing and describing household food insecurity. We also heard a desire for having private rooms that could be booked for events, meetings, or by groups of friends, campus departments, or clubs. We also heard that it would be ideal to have office space in the Food Hub for Food Hub staff and other related university staff. We also heard a strong desire for an outdoor component to the Food Hub. So this could be a farm, garden spaces, edible landscaping, a rooftop farm, outdoor seating areas, an outdoor classroom, food forests, community garden space, active learning gardens, and many people discussed the possibility of using the ALR land that UBCO owns. We also heard time and time again that the construction of the physical space must be guided by the core principles of accessibility, inclusion, sustainability, and equity. In our consultations, we heard unanimous agreement that physical accessibility must be prioritized. We received specific recommendations from the Disability Resource Center and their Student Advisory Board. We heard suggestions for multiple accessible seating areas, accessible cooking spaces, varied counter heights, accessible gardens. We also received suggestions regarding constructing a space that's accessible for folks with sensory sensitivity. There was also unanimous agreement regarding the importance of ensuring ongoing inclusion and equity in the Food Hub. that it should be a safe space, community-oriented, ensure dignity for those accessing free food, and to help normalize experiences of household food insecurity. We heard that it is essential to have diverse representation amongst staff and volunteers, in addition to ensuring that there are many eyes on this project all throughout the development phase in order to identify gaps and areas of concern. There is also consistent agreement that sustainability must be incorporated into the physical food hub through incorporating sustainable design principles into the construction of the food hub, having a compost program, ensuring sustainable food procurement, using permaculture principles, solar energy, gray water systems, hydroponics, recycling, vermicomposting, which is worm composting, and having responsible waste management. So hopefully now you can start to picture what the physical space of the food hub could look like according to our campus community. And you can also start to understand some of the values that underlie and support the development and creation of a physical food hub on campus. So the next question is, what could happen inside of the physical space? What types of programs, services, and opportunities could exist here? How could staff, faculty, and students expect to be involved? What types of partnerships would support the physical food hub? We heard that there needs to be a focus on reliable and consistent programming, food skills capacity building, nutrition education, communal cooking and meal preparation, opportunities for students to cook meals for themselves, outside space for gardening and growing food, and the dignified provision of free food. In terms of addressing immediate hunger, we heard suggestions regarding providing free meals and free food, such as a cupboard filled with free food for students to access as needed, to have long hours of operation with the possibility of remaining open 24 hours. Many consultations also revealed the need for grocery shopping options on campus, specifically for healthy and fresh foods. Suggestions included a campus farmers market, fresh produce boxes, and prepared meal kits, which could include ingredients, a recipe, and nutritional information. In order to help students build capacity and food and financial literacy and skills, people suggested classes on food storage, preservation, budgeting, a recipe exchange, a kitchen equipment library or loan program. And there was also a lot of discussion around culture in food, seeing the food hub as a place for international students and students from all cultural backgrounds to access, share, cook, and eat their cultural foods communally or individually. We spoke about partnerships with campus clubs, specifically cultural clubs, and there was also a lot of discussion regarding food and mental health and providing services focused on body image, disordered eating, and cultivating healthy relationships with food. Many people discuss the importance of the food hub having programs and services for a wide range of students, including students living on campus, off campus, graduate students and mature students, and single parents. People envisioned the food hub as a central location for campus events, research, social connection, and relaxation. They expressed the idea that this space could be a center not only for food security, but for overall health and wellness. In our consultations, we also heard a lot about how students and faculty want to be involved. Students will, of course, be the main service users of the food hub, but they could also be involved as volunteers through peer mentorship, student employment, directed studies, practicum placements, courseworks, and we could also have a student advisory board. The food hub could also provide educational opportunities for students to learn about the food system, how to grow food, where food comes from, how to cook, and more. In terms of faculty involvement, we heard about research, teaching, and engaging in recreational programming. Faculty discussed opportunities for leveraging funding for the food hub through research, bringing in community partnerships, and opportunities to incorporate the food hub into coursework. In our consultations, we heard a lot about the importance of developing and maintaining internal and external partnerships. Suggestions for internal partnerships included the Nutrition Education Center, the Pantry, Community Service Learning, Campus Health, the new greenhouse on campus, the Sustainability and Geography departments, and food services, campus clubs, course unions, and so many more. The general idea was to leverage the expertise and experience that already exists on campus. We also heard about external community partnerships for funding, food procurement, and support with programs and services. you can start to see how big of a project this really could be. And everyone we spoke to really wants to see it come to fruition in its entirety. However, this will of course take time. So many people suggested that for the time being, we pick a smaller number of priorities to focus on and to launch into these priorities right away while the bigger overall project is being developed, because really supporting student food security needs to happen now. So some suggestions included starting small campus gardens or having virtual or online recipe exchanges or cooking classes. And if this approach to start small is to be successful, there was general agreement that there needs to be a coordinating body streamlining these efforts. So we discussed all of these areas listed here in our UBCO consultations, and I just touched on most of them. But we kept arriving at these three big questions of the governance structure, funding, and physical space. So in terms of governance structure, we heard unanimous agreement that there must be full-time staff at the Physical Food Hub. Staff would be responsible for overseeing programming, services, administration, food procurement, volunteers, partnerships, all organizational oversight, in addition to ensuring accessibility, inclusion, and equity needs are met. People very clearly expressed that no matter where the food hub is located on campus, no matter which department oversees it, it must have staff. Funding is also key in ensuring the initial and long-term success of the Physical Food Hub. And we spoke about this in all of our consultations. A number of funding options were explored and suggested and included student union fee levies, both an initial fee for the construction of the food hub and a small ongoing fee to support ongoing operations. We also spoke about funding from the university and also alumni or other donations. Something to note is that all of the food security initiatives at post-secondary institutions across Canada that we spoke with are funded through student union fee levies. The question of physical space was discussed in almost every consultation as well. Where the food hub would be housed on campus was the main subject of discussion, and we heard many suggestions about this, including the UNC building, the new buildings being built on campus, and the new downtown buildings. In our consultations, we expressly asked about inclusion, equity, and decolonization. This often led into an expanded conversation about how to ensure that the development process of the Physical Food Hub, in addition to the Physical Food Hub itself, is an anti-oppressive, anti-racist space, and that it won't perpetuate settler colonialism. And these are not the only ideas that came up, but I'll just touch on some of the ideas that some people brought up. And I do want to mention that some of these ideas related to this were sprinkled throughout the discussion, such as having artwork from the Silks Okanagan Nation on the walls of the Physical Food Hub as a constant sort of land recognition. So we also heard that it's really important to have ongoing input throughout this process from a diverse group of people, including Black, Indigenous, and people of color, that there needs to be a diverse advisory board making decisions about the space, and also diverse representation in staff and volunteers at the food hub. We heard about partnerships with cultural clubs and other cultural or religious community organizations in Kelowna. We heard about the importance of really meaningfully recognizing the origins of food, utensils, recipes, ingredients, really everything used in the food hub. We heard a great idea to have freezer space available for Inuit and Indigenous students coming from the north so that there's a place to store country foods. We heard about the importance of having a wide variety of utensils, spices, and ingredients on hand, and also readily available information for students about where they can find their own cultural foods in Kelowna, because it's not the easiest. And this list is by no means exhaustive, but I do want to say that in this project, we're really committed to making this an anti-oppressive, anti-racist, and decolonized space and overall project, and we're always open to recommendations and suggestions for change. So overall, our consultation process revealed strong support in favor of the development of a physical food hub at UBCO. Students and other key stakeholders advocated that it be a top priority for the university at present. They recommended that this project move quickly in order to begin addressing growing rates of student household food insecurity on campus. Based on our consultations, we put together a list of recommendations for moving forward with this project. Number 1, form a multi-stakeholder committee for the planning and development of a physical food hub at UBCO. This committee should include students, staff, and faculty. And based on our consultations, we advise representation from the Student Union, the Student Experience Office, International Programs and Services, Aboriginal Programs and Services, the Institute of Community Engaged Research, the Nutrition Education Center, Campus Health, and the Food Strategy Committee. Number 2, we suggest that the first priority of this committee should be to determine the high-level governance structure of the physical food hub. Multiple consultation sessions revealed that the physical food hub may best be housed within the Associate Vice President student's portfolio with appropriate staffing. And after governance is addressed, physical space and funding could be looked at. Number 3 is a recommendation for the university and administration and planning departments to prioritize the physical food hub in development and construction on campus. So both in the construction of new buildings on campus and or the renovations of existing buildings. And the university administration must also prioritize allocating outdoor space for the outdoor component of the food hub. So moving forward, we've received another round of funding from the Sustainability Scholars program. So another scholar will be hired onto this project to begin looking into initial community partnerships that will support the project. So we really want to thank you, me and Casey, from the bottom of our hearts for all your input and feedback and the inspiration we received and all the support, all the input. And this process of community collaboration has been so important. So I'll end with this quote here from Food Secure Canada, which is a national food security organization. And I think it speaks volumes to the moment in time that we're living in, the political, social, cultural, environmental moment. So the current moment of collective anxiety and vulnerability gives us a chance to talk about a different kind of society that values people and the planet ahead of profit and the commodification of virtually everything in our lives. So thank you very much, and I will pass it back over to Casey.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm actually going to pass it on to whoever has questions. So we're going to spend the last 6 minutes that we have in our session today to answer any questions, whether it's from this presentation or if you managed to catch the end of the previous one, questions related to that. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties of getting into this call in the first place.
Hi, I have a question. This is Sarah from UBC Vancouver.
Hello.
Hi, I'm so glad I was able to make it right on time for this presentation, and it was fantastic, Sarah, and thank you for summarizing it so well and so clearly. This is so helpful for both campuses. But my question is just about, did anything come up around staff, it being a space for staff and for just the general community as well? That's something that we've talked a little bit about at Vancouver. So I'm curious your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Casey, do you want to answer or should I?
And just to clarify, Sarah, do you mean a place like an office space? Is that what you mean, or what? Like,
no,
what
just
are you saying?
Physical food hub being a space for staff to come as well.
Oh yeah,
to
yes,
and community members. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. You can go ahead, Sarah, and answer it.
Yeah, I think that did come up a lot, and I think everyone really saw it as a place for the entire campus community, so staff, students, faculty, and I think engaging in community partnerships was also a really big part of that. So the more community partnerships that we're engaged in, the more people from the community would be invited in as well. And specifically, there's discussion around that we talked about having a central food hub on the main campus, but then maybe a satellite one on the downtown campus. And a few people spoke about if there was a satellite on the downtown campus, that would be a great opportunity for even further community engagement, but definitely for everyone on campus.
Yeah, like some specific ideas. Like people talked about it in a real like community building way. So some of it was like, obviously we're an academic institution, so people thought immediately of like research and connections to faculty with like coursework and group work and opportunities for students to engage in that way, but also faculty. But people came up with fun ideas like bake cookies with the professor, or like, you know, different departments might have like a monthly potluck or something for their department in that space.
Thank you guys. That's so great and so helpful.
Mary Stockdale's got her hand up.
Sorry, I'm being dominating here. My question is just that I'm chair of this climate action plan, which is about food, the working group on food on campus. So I wondered if you had any main suggestions, because I'm supposed to be collecting ideas in the next few weeks. So any suggestions related to your work, Sarah, on how this could contribute to sustainability and or climate action?
I mean, it's a really big question, and I think that we had a lot of ideas come up about that, and maybe I could send you the report or write up some ideas and let you know, because I think that there were a lot of people shared a lot of ideas about how sustainability could figure into this, specifically related to food waste, but also a lot related to food procurement and growing food on campus. So maybe I can type something up and send it to you. Do you feel okay about that?
Sure, or just highlighting a few things, or yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make a note to do that.
I would add that ideas came up, especially related to any outdoor spaces, but also for indoor spaces, the idea of like if it's an older building, retrofitting, not necessarily the food itself, but like the infrastructure, right, that supports that space. So around energy reduction, and water, energy and water, essentially. Also green building, like sustainable materials going into the development of the structures.
Thanks, that's super.
Sorry, this is Nelly from UBC Vancouver. So I work with the Food Security Initiative, but I also work with the seasonal program. Mary, I heard that you're chairing the CAP working group from UBCO. So I sit on the Vancouver, I guess, CAP working group on that, and we are proposing to incorporate a lot of elements around the physical food hubs to the climate and food proposal in many facets, including procurement, as well as the interfaces with providing support for food literacy and for food security. So yeah, just in case you are looking for inspiration, I think UBC Vancouver, we're going to put that in there and pepper it throughout. So
send me your email. Thanks, Nelly. That's great.
Thanks, Nelly. Yeah, and I would actually say that the concept of sustainability, and we're in our last 30 seconds here, came up actually, yeah, from an educational standpoint as well. So I don't know, climate literacy, maybe we could call it something like that. No one used that terminology, but okay, so we're at the end of our hour here. Thank you so very much for everyone that was able to make it into the presentation today. Thank you so much to Kim and Marisa and Sarah for putting so much time and effort. You've done excellent work over the last several months to over a year. Kim and Marisa have been working with us for over a year now. So thank you very much. We will be emailing again just a link directly to this presentation once we have it all formatted and on our Campus Health website. So you'll get an email for that, and reports and infographics and other sorts of supportive materials will be available as well. So thank you so much for your time, and have a really great day.
Thank you, everyone.